Hello, and welcome to That Recording Podcast, the podcast of conversations inspired by all things analog recording. I am your host, Joe Montague, also known as... Are you that Beatles drums guy off Instagram? All you need is drums. Yes, that is me. And each episode I'll speak with a different guest from all avenues of the recording world. You can expect discussions on everything from the mentality and philosophy of recording right down to the nerdy gear talk and everything in between. With guests ranging from industry legends to current music producers, engineers, musicians and gear manufacturers. If you're like me and share my enthusiasm for hearing their stories and learning from their experiences, then this is the podcast for you. Don't forget to hit subscribe on your podcast player so you never miss an episode. And if you enjoy this, please leave a rating and a review wherever you're listening. Obviously, 5 stars, please. And it really helps to grow the love for analog recording and helps me attract a variety of different guests. Thanks for listening and enjoy the show! Okay, hello and welcome to another episode of That Recording Podcast. This is part 2 of my conversation with JB Pilon. I should say, I hope you've all had a wonderful week. That is I'm not trying to make that a tagline, but I genuinely do hope you've all had a wonderful week. That is something that I hope for all of you. So we're just going to get straight on with part 2 of this conversation. Off we go! That Recording Podcast is sponsored by Make Noise Pro Audio, the trusted source for new and used pro audio equipment. They also do repairs, so they are a veritable trifecta of audio accomplishment. Did you like that sentence? I was quite proud of that when I wrote that. A bit of, alliteration. There we go. Anyway, they have an incredible Instagram feed, and one of the things that I really love doing is every week they do a drop of the gear that they have had come in during the week. And I love scrolling through the stories, and there's usually 20 or 30 pieces that go up. And this is a bit weird, but I always play Guess the Price, because it's always really reasonable. And I must say that I am biased. I've been buying things from Make Noise for years. They're just such a great company. Obviously, I'm very grateful to them to be supporting this podcast, but I wouldn't be doing this if I just didn't think that they were brilliant. So do go and check them out at Make Noise Pro Audio on Instagram or makenoiseproaudio.co.uk on the interwebs. And on with the show! So let's talk about like a general sort of session setup. I mean, the where I always gravitate towards is drums. Like, do you have sort of a preferred? Say you got a band in. Do you have what's your go-to, or do you have a preferred method of say drum miking that you generally start with?
Yeah, it's fairly basic, fairly normal. I think it's kick, snare, overhead.
Yeah,
I will start with that, and depending on what music we're doing, I will elaborate. Sometimes it stops at mono overhead, snare, and kick, and sometimes there's 20 mics. If it's like I don't know, a heavy stoner band with like 6 toms and loads of cymbals, and thereafter a more modern sound, I might have 2 mics on the kick, 2 mics on the snare, mics on every toms, 2 or 4 overheads. I mean the whole room mics and all of this.
Yeah.
So it really depends. I don't really have go-to mics.
Okay, interesting.
I have a bunch. Let's just say I have a bunch of go-to mics.
Yes.
Actually, so on the kick, if it's something either fairly soft or jazzy, something not too rocky, which wants a bit of more of an organic, natural sound, I will tend to use Soundtronic mics.
Interesting.
The DM1B. So it's a condenser, which is great for kick and bass amps actually. But I might use a D12 or a D6 or D6 if it's something more modern. Snare 57, quite a lot. But sometimes I use a Sony C38.
Yes, yeah.
Condenser. Makes the snare sounds great, but it gets a lot of hi-hat. A lot of hi-hat. So it has to be. We have to try, and that depends sometimes of the drummer, of the hi-hats he plays, and the song. But yeah, usually it's one of those two. Sometimes 4/4-1 on snare. Overheads, I love the res low that you have.
Yeah.
Yeah, especially if it's something a bit retro. It's usually or jazzy. It's gonna be mostly the res low, but it can be the BM9 from Extinct Audio.
Yes.
I use them a lot on overheads now.
Oh, really? Interesting.
Yeah.
So I've yet to try them as overheads. I did some of the sample recordings that Stuart's got up on the website for him at Neil Innes studio, who we were just talking about before we started recording, who has ATA records.
Oh, yeah.
So we did, because Neil's really good friends with Stuart, and we did some, when they were first bringing out the BM9, we did some of those, and we used the sort of daptone place, where it's quite low to the, kind of, I guess it like a modified, where it's quite low to the floor, but between the bass drum and the hi-hat, sort of around there, and balanced it. And it was just gorgeous, and it sounded great there. Get tons of low end on the kick, and I guess obviously it depends on the balance of the player, but the actual sound off the mic was unreal.
Yeah, great mics.
Yeah, loved it. But
Really,
I haven't
really
tried them as overheads yet, and I keep saying, every time I see Stuart, I keep thinking to myself, I'm going to buy a pair of these at some
Definitely
point.
worth it. It's probably some of the best microphones I bought in quite a few years.
Yeah,
but definitely. Except probably the mics I use the most at the moment.
Oh, interesting.
They end up on every station, one way or another. If it's not on overheads, they'll be on rooms or in front of a guitar amp, on double bass, on vocals. Like I'm still yet to find something that don't do well.
I love the idea of having just that microphone that can go anywhere. For me, I use the Coles a lot. So it's my, I love it as a drum overhead. I love it as a vocal mic, depending on who's singing. And I like, there's just those mics that can move anywhere. I mean, the Reslos, to be honest, are a bit like that.
Yeah. I mean, I think ribbon mics in general, they are good on most sources. They are colored. If you like the coloration of the mic, then you can use it anywhere.
Yeah, I mean, I do.
Exactly.
Yeah. So then, you kind of got your three mic setup, and if you had a choice, is that generally where you would start off with and like be happy with if the player was right and it was all sounding okay?
Say that again, sorry.
If you your sort of three drum mics, that's where you'd be happy sticking with. You don't have any desperate need.
No, it really depends what we're doing.
Yeah.
It really depends what we're doing. In some case where I know for a fact that I'm gonna need loads of mics.
Yeah.
And especially because I do at least one or two or three heavy stoner bands per year, albums or EP. So as soon as you start to get loads of guitars and heavy bass everywhere, then it feels. Well, I feel like I need to have more. How do you say?
Like individual control.
Exactly. Yeah. Especially on toms, and I like to have. If we're doing an album as well, and I know that there's gonna be some soft, and that's for any kind of music. I know some song will probably be louder or slower than others. And the band is on a budget, so we're not gonna change the setup for every song. We're gonna do one setup once and record all the foundations, and then overdubs everything. I will probably have a bunch of mics, more mics than I will need, just because when it's time to mix, I will be able to pick in between this kick mic or this kick mic or that snare mic or those overheads, and I don't have to change all the time.
That makes complete sense. No, it's kind of how I work, because I speak to a lot of people who ask me about my drum setups, and I've got I think something like 16 odd mics on the kit at the moment, and obviously the first response is like, oh, you don't need that many. Well, yeah, of course I don't need that many, but I like to have the options. I don't want to have to set up and take down mics all the time. So you see you've got the Coles and the D19 are in exactly the same place, so I can just switch between them depending on what mood I'm in.
See which one sounds best or
fits
best for the song.
Exactly what works with the song. And it's nice to have all of those different options set up, especially if the band is, like you say, on a limited budget, and you know that when it comes to the mix stage, they're probably going to ask you for something that you're going to need to magic up, and if you've preempted that, then you're winning.
It's saving time as well, I think. Yeah.
So with that in mind, are you generally, obviously it's all project dependent, but are you generally pushing to record the basic tracks together? And the band's happy with that? Yeah,
I think a vast majority of the bands who come sort of either want this or know that, what to expect from the studio or from me. And if they didn't, I will explain to them why I think it's the best way to do it, and prove them that it's gonna save them time, therefore save them money, and also it will most likely sound better, because you can't beat the kind of groove you will get from three people together playing together. You can't really recreate it as well and as quickly if you get them to overdub. When they are playing together, when they are in the same room, they are looking at each other, they are in the same setup as when they are rehearsing or playing live. They know this vibe, they know how the vibrations of the amps in the room feels and all of that stuff. You don't get the same if the drummer recorded his parts on a click, you know what I mean, and then the bassist is on his own, sitting in front of the speakers next to the sound engineer. It just doesn't happen.
No,
I mean, I still do it every now and then, but it's got they need to have a good reason. They need to. They need to buy me out.
I think it's really interesting because I think back to when I started in bands recording. The only way, I remember the very first couple of recordings I ever did were just sort of guys with, I'm assuming it was some kind of like Tascam thing, would turn up and we would record. It was digital, but we'd record to something, and then he'd export it to a laptop or print, even burn it straight to a CD off the thing or whatever. So then we would record all at the same time, just because it was really cheap and we were 14 or whatever, and someone's dad was paying for it in the band. But then I remember getting into serious studio stuff sort of when I was sort of 16, 17, and it was never ever an option to record together. I don't ever remember being told to record together. It was, I was the drummer obviously, and the drums went on first. Someone might play bass for me
as a guide,
in the control room, and I don't remember ever recording anything together. And now that seems completely alien. I couldn't imagine not ever doing that, and I think that there's definitely been a shift. That's sort of 16 odd years ago, and I think in that time there's definitely been a shift where people are more than happy, and like you say, almost expect it. Maybe, I don't know whether it's just the style of music that we both work in, or the styles of music.
I think it's many things. The fact that there's it's been proven that it works, over the last few years, 20 years, there's been so many amazing bands who's been recording everything live.
Yes.
Which made it big in the charts and everybody knows those bands. But also I think the fact that just one simple reason, like the fact that the audio equipment is cheaper now. There's more studios than ever.
That's
fair too, all those studios are smaller.
Yes.
With less mics. So when you got less mics, that's a really bad reason I'm saying here. If you got less mics, you can't record all at once.
No, but I think it forces you into a position where, this week I've just been speaking with a chap from Nashville called Ryan Poole, who people will have listened to before this goes out, and he's interesting because he grew, he's interned at a really big Nashville studio, and then he had his own space, and it was all a lot smaller. But it's exactly what you're saying. Like, I know it seems a bit counterintuitive, but he had a little 8-channel mixing desk and was it was time constraints and space constraints, but all he could do was do it all together. That's like, it was obvious that that's how it was going to be. And I don't know the way to make sense of it, but you're right. Like somehow this small studio mentality does lend
work
itself.
better with doing it live.
Yeah, well, I guess it's because you don't have the, we're not got a big Neve console and loads of, there's not lots of posh gear and expensive gear. So the only way to make sure you've got a characterful recording is by doing it live.
Yeah. You get the vibe from the music, not from the expensive stuff.
There you go. Yeah, that's it. There, we've answered our own question there. But that's exactly right, isn't it? And I think that excites me. When I listen back to. So there's this one particular. I think I've talked about my Ron Ryan project on blooming every podcast I've recorded, but there's this one version of a particular track that we did called "I Have Love," and the recording is so saturated and so distorted. It sounds brilliant. I don't know where it was recorded. It was somewhere in the 60s, and it was this. I think the band might have been called the Choir Boys or something like that, and it's on YouTube and it's got about 2,000 views, but it sounds brilliant, and it must have been recorded in some like little backroom studio. That's exactly what we're just talking about, kind of what all these studios that are around nowadays, where I have the equivalent of the gear that they might have had. They might have had a recording to a Revox or some sort of high end, but also what would you call it, like the top end of the home studio market of that time, and they're making really vibey recordings. Those recordings are so full of character and so full of life because the playing is the focus, not the gear. And and I think that's a really interesting point. I hadn't really considered that's how it is, but you're right, there's lots of studios. Yeah, it is, and we seem to be coming back round. I hope we're coming back round to that kind of thing where the musicianship is getting better and the quality of the music that's going into the recording process is better, as opposed to the recording process being the thing that people are chasing. Yeah. If that makes sense.
It does.
It's kind of important for me, especially at this studio, because I don't have a big desk and I don't have, there obviously is a few nice things, but it's more important for me that the music is the focus for exactly that reason. And and I think it's great. I really do think it's great. So what's kind of next for you? So you're currently working out of Buffalo, just recording bands. Have you got projects that you're working on that are kind of interesting?
Yeah, quite a few good stuff going on. But what do I have? I'm doing an album with a band called JB Paris.
Okay.
It's like alternative indie. It's sounding really good so far. And doing an album with a band called Bandini, which is jazzy, bluesy, sort of Tom Waitsy vibe.
Yeah, very
which is
nice.
really good. What do I have? I have quite a few things at the moment going on. Plus random bits and bobs. But the future is, keeping Buffalo going, keeping doing what I'm doing, and it's doing well because people who come tend to come back.
Yes,
and and eventually their mates are coming, or they start playing with other projects, or the other projects are coming too, and the records that we are doing, hopefully some of them are good, and people hear them and check where they're being done and come to the studio. So, that's doing okay. But the challenge this year is, the adventure, I guess, this year is, by the end of the year, I'm hoping to move partly move to Yorkshire, near you.
Yes, just down the road from me. Yeah.
So I will keep the studio, but my wife is from here, basically, so we are thinking of, we'll spend like 2 weeks a month in London working at Buffalo, and then 2 weeks here where I could start working in studios like yours.
Yeah, well, I think it's really cool. Buffalo's such a cool spot, and I hope that if anyone is, you know, everyone's listening, London-based, checks it out, because it is a really cool spot, and it would be such a shame for you not to have that anymore. I feel like those places are a rarity, and now knowing it came from Simon Trout, it just seems it's like it makes complete sense. You got to hold on to it.
Yeah, I don't know for how long it will last. You know, it's Limehouse is one of those places in London where it's right in between the cities and Canary Wharf, so you know, the two banking centers.
Yeah.
So eventually it will be turned into flats for bankers. But luckily the building where the studio is how do you say? Listed, yeah. So apparently, it will probably be one of the last one to be turned into flats. But it will happen one day. So, but you know, until then.
Yeah, hopefully later.
Until then, we'll keep recording. That's for sure.
I remember when the project that we met on, the Chris Farlow project. I remember talking to Adam, who's the person who's sort of running that project, and you know, this is all coming around to you. You're clearly doing something right, because he was checking out all of the possible options of places to record. And I think we were friends on Instagram and Facebook at that point, and I'd seen what you were doing. And he said to me, I found this place called Buffalo. And I said, yeah, I know that guy. I'm friend. You know, we kind of on the peripheries of the, you know, the same kind of groups of people. And I was like, he's got some great stuff there, and you know, then actually getting to go down and see it, it's such a cool place. And I think what you're doing,
that was a great session. That was a really good session.
I mean, Chris is fantastic, isn't he?
I like you know, was guys who been doing it for so long, but they just do one take. I love how he did the first song. He did one take, and then Adam was like, right, let's do another one, like, you know, it's what you said now.
Yeah.
and Chris was like, what? Another one? What for? What was wrong with this one? What do you want me to do differently? Yeah. You know, kind of. Yeah. You wanted me to do a take. I've done a take, you know, it's done. Yeah. Why again? You know?
Yeah.
I was like, oh, right. That's how it should be. I think now, because of the digital world, it's so easy to record over and over again. Sometimes people
have options.
Yeah, people do that without knowing why.
Yes.
It's like, we're just gonna do 20 takes because we can. But usually, you know, if you know how to sing or how to play, the first ones are pretty much always the best.
Yeah.
You know, because they're spontaneous. There's a vibe. After that, you repeat. You know, after 10 takes, you just repeat yourself.
Yeah, and you lose the edge on it. It's not spontaneous anymore, because you're repeating something that worked 5 takes ago.
Exactly.
I know the feeling.
But you know, I think it is important in some cases to do a few takes, to have the options. You can comb the vocals. There's some certain type of music where it can be about technicity. In which case, you know, let's do a bunch of takes, so then we can choose the beat where we got some, I wouldn't say perfections, but you know, the part that really wants to nail. But I think most of the time it's the early stuff.
Yeah, that's it. And seeing someone like Chris, I mean, he's in his early 80s now, and he is just pro. Like he's incredible, and you don't. It's not something you get to see too often, somebody who's that good at what they do, and you see him playing, like singing first time with the sort of phrasing that he used, and vocals is so hard, because you've got to have like an attitude about your vocal, and especially kind of blues music is what Chris is obviously known for. On a guitar or drums or bass or whatever, you can almost fake it because it's not coming out of your mouth. Yeah. It's something that you're playing. Whereas he's got to put that act on and be bluesy whenever he sings. Yeah. And he just nailed it. Like it's so amazing to watch somebody of that caliber performing it. So
it's very true. It's, you know, it's about acting vocals. When I do sometimes have singers, you know, who are technically good. Yeah. But sometimes there's not enough emotion to, you know, I feel like it should have more, it should transmit more. And then I try to push them to act, and I usually tell them, you know, it's acting. You need to do like move your hands, move your mouth, do some facial expressions. Because if you know, when you're gigging, you will usually put an act.
Yes.
When you're behind a mic, you don't have an audience, so it's easy to be a bit, you know, motionless. But if you're motionless, it will usually sound emotionless as well.
Yes, that's true.
So you know, when I do face that kind of situation where we need the extra edge, we know we need a bit more intensity or need more, you know, feel or what, you know, whatever what the song might need. I always tell them, you know, move. If you're scared of the, you know, the shoes hitting making noise, and take your shoes off. Or, you know, or sometimes you're just like, don't move, lay on the floor, like have a nap. You know, lay on the floor. I'll put a pillow under your head and I'll put the mic in front of you while you're literally sleeping. You know, I think it's about that kind of things as well.
It's crazy, and like Chris can just switch that on, and even at the point that he's at in his life, he's still out gigging. Like people who are listening to this can go and check out. Like he gigs with Van Morrison. I think he was with Van Morrison like 2 weeks ago, just for the week or whatever he was doing, and it's just unbelievable, completely unbelievable. And to see I love watching people who are that good do what they're doing that well. That was a really special session, and I've just got this picture in my mind's eye of the stool that he sat on, and like the way you set the mic up, and the lighting in your studio is really nice. And I've seen Adam's got a couple of really nice pictures from that session of Chris just sort of sat there. And if you're a fan of Chris Farlow at all, it's pretty cool. It's pretty cool. Hopefully people will be able to see the light of day. I should probably say that it's to do with a film project. I think if you Google Chris Farlow the film, that's what this music is being recorded for. So people can go and check that out. Where can they find out about Buffalo and what you're doing?
BuffaloRecordingStudio.com. It's our website, and then like we are on Instagram and Facebook.
I would advise checking out your Instagram because you've got some nice pictures of studio stuff on there. Yeah,
it's very geeky.
Yeah, your studio lends itself to Instagram. It's got a good look about it.
Every session I try to just have when we're listening to a tech, I might just go in the live room, take pictures of every instrument or the mics, and just quickly pause them.
Oh, we have to. It's the way it is nowadays, isn't it?
But it's good as well. It's for my own memory. Sometimes I just scroll through the Instagram just to remember some good times, some good sessions. Or sometimes just what did I use on that session. Sometimes I forgot to take some notes, so I might just scroll down and be like, oh, that was it.
Yeah, exactly.
How did I get that sound? It's there.
I don't know if you find it, but I find it such a... I like that idea. I mean, I know not everybody's a big fan of social media, and it's not just a sort of a look what I'm doing kind of thing. I like the idea of it being a record of what you've done. I had a good example recently where I met somebody and I'd played on their album and I'd never met them because I did it remotely. And it took me ages to work out, to sort of place it in my mind, because it was only, it must have only been a year ago, and I just I'd done it and moved on. It took me ages to work it out, but when stuff like that comes along, it is really nice to have that record of that particular moment in time, because it's so easy to forget especially when you're working in it, how quickly you're doing it. And if you're working in the same environment all the time, because I'm sure your studio is the same as mine, it has the way it looks all the time, and then when a session's finished you pack it up to the way it looks all the time, and you forget that that's how we set that session up. It was like that because after it finished you just packed it all down. It's nice to have a record of it all and to look back.
Definitely. I try to do a little video as well. That's literally for my own record. When the session is fully set up and all the gear is out, walking around the room and just for the archives. Yeah. Just to see what was, in case they come back, or in case I have a very similar session and I'm like, how did I do this? Especially because like on Friday night I had a 10-piece band in the studio. Wow. Which I never had before, and they were meant to be 5. Okay. 14 of them turned up. Wow. And I was like, what's going on? 10 musicians and 4 video people, and I was thinking, how on earth am I gonna, the max the maximum I had before was 6.
Okay.
So that was a big step up, and I was thinking, how on earth are we gonna fit everybody? Especially because it has to look good. It's for the camera, but it has to sound good because there's 10 people and there's gonna be bleed everywhere. So yeah, I did. I mean, it was filmed, but also I did film, all the gear aspects and acoustic aspect of things, just so I know that if it happens again, I don't have to scratch my head for too long thinking, how on earth can I solve that equation?
Yes, yeah, that's it. Cool. Well, thank you so much for speaking with me. Thank you so much for listening to That Recording podcast today. I'll be back next week with more conversation all about analog recording. And for now, don't forget to hit subscribe, and please do share the podcast with friends or anyone else you think is as nerdy about recording as we are. If you'd like to follow me on socials, you can find the podcast on Insta at That Recording Podcast. For my adventures in Ringo nerdery and all things Beatles drums, it's at All You Need Is Drums. And if you're just curious about my work and recording and maybe the odd picture of me having a beer or hanging out with my wife and kids, it's at Joe Montague Drums. And in other exciting news, I have a TikTok. I don't really know what TikTok does or is, but my wife says I need to have it and it's cool, and I should tell you about it. So there we are, follow me on TikTok. Don't be a stranger, and see you next week. Goodbye!